Hello guys, welcome to yet another video, and this is your review for the greatest Grand Prix of 2024. Anyone that missed the Canadian Grand Prix, oh lord. Honestly, I feel like you shouldn't even watch this video if you missed that Grand Prix. I feel like you should go and watch everything again before you come and watch this video because I'll be giving you so much spoilers. That's how good this race was. Like you feel like if you haven't seen it and you're watching this, just go watch it first. Come back, cause oh no, there's no justice that can be done to what happened over the weekend if you don't watch it yourself. It's just one of those things where you have to experience for yourself to understand the joy that you brought. There was so much going on, but without further ado, because this video is even coming late, let's get into it. So before I go too far into this, let's recap my predictions for last week for the race. My flop for the week was Ferrari, and oh my god, did I hit the jackpot! Whew! In qualifying, both Ferraris were knocked out. In Q2, in the race, none of the Ferraris finished. So it was like, you know what? You should start betting on my predictions. I'm telling you now. Like, hey, I got gifted things going on right here. Anyway, and for pole position, I put Charles Leclerc. No. On pole was George Russell. Wow. No one saw that Mercedes performance coming. Although I did put my surprise driver of the week to be Lewis Hamilton. So yeah, and Lewis Hamilton finished P4, so that one came in clutch. Yeah, and for the top three, I put Max Verstappen P1, P2 I went for Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen P1, P2 I went with Oscar Piastri and P3 I went with Sergio Perez. We're gonna talk about Sergio and we need an entire video for that because honestly I don't know. The way Sergio Perez is behaving, I can't continue to defend this. It's getting difficult, you know? And my crazy prediction for the week is that one of the Ferraris will finish outside the top five. Huh? They both finished. In fact, they didn't finish. No, none of them finished the race. None of them. Yeah, so that was basically it for my predictions. So at least you have an idea how everything happened. But for my predictions, all my predictions didn't come true. But for the race winner, yeah, Max Verstappen won. It was a difficult win to be honest, and I think he thoroughly deserved it. This is one of those things like, if you go back to Zandvoort, yeah, that's how it's pronounced, Zandvoort last year. That's in Max Verstappen's home race, where it's very similar. The conditions, the rain, the safety cars, full wet tires, intermediates, the soft tires. You know what? Every condition, full wets, little wet, dry, no, everything was thrown at Max Verstappen. And you know what? This guy still came. At least last year, you would say he had the fastest car. This year, no. The fastest car on the track this week was the Mercedes. Mercedes! I don't know what they unlocked, but it's just they surprised everybody. Not gonna lie, because George Russell was on pole. I know that one came out of nowhere. So yeah, and Lando finished P2. So yeah, you could say that. And P3 was George Russell, even though he was on pole. But it was an amazing race. But that's about it with my predictions. Now let's go to the qualifying session. So for this race, actually, the free practice sessions were actually, you would say they didn't register because they were all done in the wet session. I think it was only the third um, practice session, FP3, where that was the only dry running session, and I think there was not much you could gain from that, but you could definitely see that the Mercedes had some pace in there, that something was going right in their favor. Even though pre-race simulations showed Ferrari were the quickest, nah, something was wrong with Ferrari this week, man. I don't know what happened, but it's like they couldn't just do anything. I can't explain it. That's all I can say, you know. But into going into qualifying in Q1, I think the biggest shock for this week was basically Sergio Perez getting knocked out in Q1 again. This is the weekend where they announced that a 2 years contract extension. Technically, not 2 years. It's 1 plus 1 year plus another option, plus the option of another year to extend. I don't know if which party is going to activate. Is it Red Bull that will activate that, or Sergio Perez side that will activate that? But honestly, I expected so much. I mean, he I expected him to be in the top three of the race because I thought the Red Bull would be the fastest anyway. But even if the Red Bull was not the fastest, there is no way your teammate is starting on the front row of the race and you're in P16. No, no. He was out qualified by Logan Sargent. Like, think about it. It doesn't make sense. Like, not even on the weekend. Like, this should be that weekend where you just take everything easy. You got your new contract. There's no like a problem, no questions about your future. Everything has been put to rest. Just go out and enjoy yourself. And Sergio Perez said, nope. I'm like, nah. I'm just gonna continue this horrible form that I am on. And yeah, well, now that happened. And the others that were knocked out in Q1, I think Ocon, I mean, but Ocon, he was going to have a 5 place grid penalty anyway, so he was always going to start from the back. And the two Saubers, Sauber, honestly, I feel like they should just hand over to Audi already. Just, honestly, just hand over to Audi because I feel like there's no point in you guys competing. You guys are always at the back no matter what. And Zhou Guan Yu, I think most of the safety car or red flag sessions we had during the free practice sessions were caused by Zhou. I don't know if this guy will be in Formula One next season. And honestly, it's not his fault. It's just a consequence of the team he is in. And it's just ridiculous, honestly. But yeah, Sauber need to get their act together. Because if they don't, I'm even scared for Bottas at this point. Valtteri Bottas, I don't know if he'll be in Formula One next season. Because the driver market is just something else right now. You don't know who is going where. Even a good driver, a driver as good as Carlos Sainz doesn't know where he's going to be next year. So it's something else. And also, Nico Hulkenberg was a surprise knockout in Q1 as well. Honestly, I didn't see that one coming. But I mean, we all have those days. Unlike Sergio Perez, I did it twice in a row. I hope he doesn't continue to the next race in Spain. Because remember last year he had 5 races in a row where he was knocked out in Q1. I hope it's not going to continue. Fingers crossed, we see what happens. And in Q2, both Ferraris got knocked out. That one, no one saw coming. I can guarantee you, if anyone had predicted that both Ferraris would not make it. This was the car that won in Monaco, by the way, just in the race before. Can you imagine winning in Monaco and coming to Canada and now getting knocked out in Q2? Both Ferraris 11th and 12th. No. It was just something. But for some reason, I don't know what it is. I can't even explain it. But I think it's for Charles Leclerc. I think Leclerc had an electrical issue during the race. I don't know what happened with Sainz. Even Sainz had a terrible weekend, honestly. P12 and what he did in the race, no. But we'll get into that soon. And for Q3, honestly, I'm very happy for Alex Albon. Albon did very well. He qualified in P3 in Q3. He got into Q3, qualified P10. So that's like back-to-back Q3 appearances for him, which is very good. Which shows like the Williams is improving. Because it's also good because also Logan Sargent got into Q2 for the first time this season. So which is good. It shows there's progress on the side of Williams and they're doing something great. Like, you know, last year in Canada was when Williams scored their first significant point. But now, I think that was a P7. But this race, yeah, they were on course to score a point, but it just didn't come together for them, really. I mean, it was quite unfortunate for Alex because Logan had a race to forget, to be honest. I think he brought out the safety car twice. No, was it once? He spun once, and the safety car, the second time he hit the wall and he couldn't continue. And yeah, safety car. I think that was the safety car that gave Verstappen the lead. Was it? No, it gave Verstappen the lead. I think so. That was one of the safety cars that gave Verstappen the lead because The the race lead was changed multiple times. It was just see. I'm telling you, doing this video does not do justice to this Grand Prix. Honestly, you have to just go and watch it for yourself. Even the highlights on on the F1 YouTube channel would not do justice to this Grand Prix. It was that good. Multiple safety cars, changing conditions. You know what? Let me not even talk too much. But yeah, in Q3 you had Alex Albon qualifying there for the first. Lance Stroll was in Q3 as well. Both Aston Martins were in Q3. Both of them finished in the points. So it was an amazing weekend for Aston Martin. Both Racing Bulls, Sonoda and Ricardo. Ricardo qualified P5. Absolute madness. He did well. I think after what Jacques Villeneuve said about him this past weekend, honestly, I am not surprised by that performance. He was like, I think that was one of those performances where you just do to shut people up. You know, it's like I still got it. Yeah, and I'm glad he did because honestly, I felt that the things Jacques Villeneuve said about Daniel Ricciardo, I feel like it was unnecessary. Come on. I mean, I know there's tough love, but nah, that was beyond tough love. And yeah, so let's get in. As I said, George P1, So George and Max Verstappen actually did the same time in qualifying in Q3. But the problem is why the reason why George was on pole was because George set that time first. I think in George Russell's second run in Q3, he got the 112.000, and Max Verstappen did that in his final run. So I think in the final run, nobody was even improving really. I think the only person that improved was Lando, but Lando was like two hundredths of a second behind. Uh, that's 0.020 behind Russell and Verstappen. So he started P3. But I think the final classification was Russell P1, Max P2, Norris P3, Oscar P4, P5 Daniel Ricciardo, P6 Alonso, P7 was Lewis Hamilton, P8 was Yuki Tsunoda, I think. Yuki. No, Lance Stroll, P9 Yuki, and then P10 was Alex Albon. Then the Ferraris coming in 11 and 12th. I think Logan Sargent was 13th. Then you had Gasly and the rest over there behind. I think Magnussen was 14th, then Gasly, and that's it. So going into the race, wow. So at the beginning of the race, there was rain. The track was wet. And everybody went on intermediate tires except two drivers. The drivers were Nico Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, those opening laps, I think both K-Mag and Nico Hulkenberg in the first 4 or 5 laps, I think they gained more than 8 positions individually. I think from P14, Kevin Magnussen was up to P5. He was he up to P5 or P6? Because I remember he was chasing Hamilton. Because Hamilton did put some overtakes on too, I think, at a particular point. So probably P6, P5, P6 around there. And he was trying to overtake Lewis Hamilton. It was ridiculous. From I think P17 where Hulkenberg started. Hulkenberg was up to P10, P9 around that area. So it was like, wow, what's going on? But that's the thing, the more the track keeps evolving, the more the drivers are going faster, the tracks start drying up. And as the track was drying up, you just know they were going to pit. And for the guys that were on the intermediate tires, there was no need for them to pit because they could just go longer until the track was fully dry, I guess. Also, I mean, but with the progress that especially Kevin Magnussen had made, he pitted, I think, on lap 15 or so to change and put on the intermediate tires, maybe because he had already gained positions. Like that stint on the wet tires helped him. But unfortunately, the Haas team messed up his pit stop. The tires were not ready. They called him in and there were no tires. It didn't make sense. And he lost 8 seconds. Why would you lose that kind of thing? Like, you start the race good. I mean, that kind of thing can even kill the morale of a driver. So yeah, going into that, then Ferrari. Oh Lord, I'm gonna just be straight with this one. Ferrari, Charles Leclerc started the race, and I think he was losing up to 1.2 seconds at a particular time. Apparently, he was dealing with an electrical issue, which didn't allow him to make a lot of progress. But also, I don't know why Carlos Sainz couldn't make progress as well, because it's like they were suffering from the same issues, or because they wanted to go long on the intermediates. Anyway, later the rain came. We thought they were going to retire the car for Charles Leclerc, but they didn't. I don't understand Ferrari sometimes. They put him on the hard tires. How are you going to put someone on the hard tires when it's raining? Why? Why? There's no grip, and you're putting him on the hard. This guy was losing. Was it like a second every corner? It doesn't. I think at a particular point, Charles Leclerc was a minute and 21 seconds from the race lead. Or was it from the person that was in front of him? And he got lapped by Max Verstappen. He got lapped by Russell, Norris, Hamilton, and Oscar Piastri. At that point, they just retired the car. Just retired the car. Ferrari had to bring him in, and that, yeah, it was classified as a DNF because there was no speed as well. I think they were banking on something that maybe the rain would not be much, and Charles could just keep the car on track and just bring it home, and that was it. But it didn't happen like that for them. It was quite unfortunate, to be honest. And then there's Carlos Sainz. Oh God. I mean, I think you could say Carlos was having a very quiet weekend. As I said, he qualified P12, and just like Leclerc, he was not making any progress in the race. I think at least for Charles Leclerc, at the beginning of the race, he did put on some overtakes, but not Carlos. Carlos was just remained in the position that he was. Even after the safety cars and all of that, there was no position gained for him, really. And he ended up spinning far into the race, and yeah, he took out Alex Albon, which was quite unfortunate because I think Albon, based on the strategy they pulled, as he qualified, as I said, he qualified P10. Uh, they were on for some points. They could have gotten some points in this race. So yeah, uh, Carlos made a mistake. Back of his car, he spun, and I think Alex tried to dodge him, but it was too late, and he took out Alex Albon. And yeah, that was the second DNF for Williams. The first, as I mentioned earlier, the first DNF was that of Logan. Logan was just having a. Oh, I mean, at least thank God he qualified P13, getting into Q2 for the first time this season. But the race was, I think the first yellow flag he had was he almost clipped the wall, or he even touched one of the barriers during the race. But at least he got everything was okay. There was no damage on the car. He was able to continue. But the second time, oh Lord, yeah, that was one of the times that the safety car came out because he smashed the back of his car, and there was nothing they could do. They had to just retire the car because the car couldn't move. Basically, he didn't even drive it back. He had to get out of the car. And, one of those tractors had to come and take it off. So yeah, that was the weekend Ferrari and Williams had. It was just not happening for them. And then for Sergio Perez, I have spoken about that guy. He himself, he had P16 in the race. He was just. I couldn't believe he was driving a Red Bull because he was not making any overtakes. He was just there. And at the end of the day, he made a mistake as well. He crashed. I think it was when he got on the dry tires. I think it was on the final stint, and he got on one of the wet. The thing about driving on the wet track is you're trying to go on the dry lines if you're on those slick tires, but staying on the dry line is quite difficult. Any little mistake you make and you are into the barriers because it's slippery, and that was what happened to him. And yeah, but at least he was able to take the car back to the garage, so that means there was no safety car. But then because of that as well, the FIA fined Red Bull because I think what Red Bull were trying to do was protect Max Verstappen because at that time Max Verstappen was already in front. He was in P1 leading the race. So bringing out a safety car at that point might have not been in the favor of the team. So they just like, you know what, if the car can move, bring it back. But he did. So he gets a 3-place grid penalty for the race in Spain. And I think Red Bull got fined $35,000. Dollars or pounds, whatever. They got fined though. But yeah, and Yuki Tsunoda as well. Oh, Yuki was having a good race until a mistake. Got onto the grass, his car spun. I think he was fighting both Alpines for points. I think Ricardo was in front, then both Alpines, then Yuki. I think Yuki was in P10 at that particular point. Yeah. So unfortunately for Yuki wasn't able to finish in the points, but he did have a decent race until that mistake. Then there was the Alpines. Both Alpines finished in the point. And you know what? I'm gonna be honest. Credit to work. Let's give credit to whom credit is due. Esteban Ocon starting P20, finishing P10. You know what? Can't complain. Can't complain. He did his part. Gasly as well. Gasly in the points. That was good. Although there was a little problem in Alpine again. So basically, Gasly was behind Ocon and they were chasing Daniel Ricciardo. So I think it was a case where Gasly had fresher tires or he had more pace and they were told to switch positions. So they did. Gasly was in front, Ocon was behind. Now, the goal for that switch of position was for Gasly to chase Ocon. Sorry, to chase Daniel Ricciardo and try to overtake him. But unfortunately, he couldn't do that. Now, if that happens, in other teams, you were meant to switch back. But the team, instead of them to switch back positions because he couldn't overtake Daniel Ricciardo, they just continued as they were. And Ocon was really not happy about that on the radio. He was definitely not happy about that one. Now, let's talk about how many times there was like a change of a race lead in this race. Oh, Lord. Ooh, it was just fantastic. First, we started with uh, the guy on pole, George Russell. Russell led the race, I think, for almost 20 laps on those um, Inters. He was going fast, but then I don't know. It got to a particular point when the track started getting drier, and those McLarens came alive, especially in the hands of Lando. Whoo! Lando was something else. Lando was just flying, and I think he overtook Max. He overtook Max. Then at a particular point, he overtook Russell as well. So I think for a long time he was running the lead. I think Max also overtook Russell at a particular point. So I think the race order at that particular time was uh, Lando, Max, Russell, then Piastri, then Hamilton. No, Piastri, then Alonso. Because in the first stint on the Inters, Hamilton actually spent a lot of time behind Fernando. Man, Fernando can defend. Oh my goodness. Especially when there's no DRS to assist you, you're not passing that guy. And Hamilton was lucky enough overtake uh, to overtake Alonso in the pits. Because if he didn't do that in the pits, I couldn't have imagined what would have happened to Hamilton's race. But he was able to overtake thanks to the Mercedes team. They had quick pit stops and they were able to overtake uh, the Aston Martin of Alonso in the pits. Now, getting back after that first safety car period, I think the thing is Lando was in the lead. I think he built up to an 8-second gap or something like that. But that's in front. He was in front of Max, then after Max Russell. But I couldn't believe he was pulling away that quick. But I think this first safety car was when, if I am not mistaken, Logan Sargent made a mistake. I think that was when he got into the wall and the safety car was deployed. But the thing is, Lando was quite unlucky because he was leading, but he already passed the pit entry at the time the safety car was deployed. So Max was very lucky to get that one, and he went in, put on a new set of inters, and he took the lead. And from then on, he was there. He was in front for a long time, up until the second safety car. And this time, Lando did not come in. Lando actually stayed out on the inters, and he started setting fastest laps after fastest laps after fastest lap. Listen, no, Lando is something else. I don't know what is in that McLaren because Oscar doesn't seem to be doing that, but Lando was pushing fastest laps after fastest lap after fastest lap because he was trying to build a little gap so he could come out in front when he pitted against like Max and stuff. Because Max Verstappen and the others had like pitted for slick tires because the track was getting dry. And Lando built that advantage. Although, but the thing is, coming out of the pit entry was still wet. So even though Lando had built enough advantage when he was on those inters, when he came in and put on those medium tires, oh, you could just see when Max was coming in through turn one and he was coming out of the pit exit, and Lando was desperately finding a way, trying to get a way to get onto that right side, but no, there was no grip. The track was wet, and eventually Max passed. And I think immediately Max Verstappen passed. Max, because his tires were already warmed up, he put like 3 or 4 seconds between him and Lando, and boom, they kept going like, and they went like that honestly up until the end of the race. I think the race, as I told you, the race results were Max P1, Lando P2, and George Russell P3. Now something interesting actually happened. At the particular point, the Mercedes put the hard tires on Russell. That was that was the first time he had the slick tires on. His first set of slick tires were on the mediums, and Hamilton was on the he was on the hard. Hamilton was on the mediums. But then after the safety car of like when the Williams and the Ferrari came together, when Sainz basically took out Albon, they switched. They came into pit again because they had a free pit stop available under the safety car at that particular point. Both Mercedes came in, and Hamilton was put on the hards and Russell was put on the mediums till the end of the race. And it was at that point, I think even Russell tried to overtake Piastri because Piastri was in P3 at that particular point, and he made a mistake and got onto the wet part of the wet runoff area, and Hamilton was able to overtake him as well and overtake Piastri. So eventually George got Piastri, but George also, man, I don't know what is boiling in that Mercedes team. I don't know how they're gonna handle this, but they need to find a way to handle the relationship between George and Lewis, because George, I don't know. I mean, I understand that Lewis fans can feel like, oh, George is doing too much sometimes and all of that, but nah, he's a racing driver. He has to. There's no option for that. He has to try and get something for himself. And yeah, honestly, that was the race. I believe this video is even too long. This is why I should have done this immediately after the race, but I took too long because I was busy with other things and all of that. But yeah, that's your review for the Canadian Grand Prix. Listen, if you have any other thoughts or comments or anything that I might have missed, put them in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Kindly like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Peace.